So if you were to list the biggest minority groups in the country by race, what races do you think of?
The biggest minority?
The largest minorities in America.
Okay. Conventional wisdom is African Americans.
Right. They're actually second behind Hispanics. Hispanics are 17.6%. Blacks are 12.3%. Do we have any other minorities in this country?
Wait a minute. You mean African Americans are a minority of minorities?
Yeah, they're behind Hispanics. Yeah, Hispanics have passed up.
Wow.
But see, that's partly because
this is disappointing to hear.
This is a different topic altogether, but Hispanics don't have near as many abortions as blacks do. If blacks had been having fewer abortions, they would be a much larger percent of the population, but it's a different thing. So are there any other minorities in America?
Asian Americans?
There you go, Asians, 5.3% of America. So then you have Native American, Pacific Islander, other combined, that's about 1%. So if we say we want to support minorities, then who are we talking about? The data says we should be talking about Hispanics, blacks, and Asian Americans all combined, right?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, technically,
Yeah.
but we all know there are instances where, for example, Asian Americans are discriminated against by educational institutions.
That's not just it, but you're right. The policies the left promote don't do that. A lot of their policies hurt all minorities, but even the ones they say are designed to help minorities who are in this country legally only help some minorities, not all. Specifically, the policies tend to help blacks and hurt Asians. In other words, the policies from people on the left give unearned advantages to black Americans and take away earned advantages for Asians.
But aren't you painting that with an awfully broad brush? Because you have social welfare that gives preferential treatment. And then you have, like, for example, purchasing, federal government procurement. Okay, so that deals with small businesses and giving advantage to minority
So you think
businesses.
I'm being too broad?
Well, I'm just saying that there are a number of quote-unquote benefits that the government bestows upon certain groups.
Yes.
And I think that in some cases,
well, then let's get
it's
specific.
Disproportionate.
Let's get specific. Let's start with Harvard University.
Okay, education.
Harvard says they want to increase the diversity of their student body, so they have adopted specific policies to do that. Now, not only do these policies intentionally disadvantage white students for the minority responsible institutional racism. We're the ones that are responsible for institutional racism, so they're going to disadvantage whites. But they also intentionally disadvantage Asians. From an analysis by Students for Fair Admission, which is, by the way, suing Harvard, in order to get into Harvard, an Asian American has to score in the top 90% of all Americans on standard college entrance exams. 90%. If you're Asian and you want to get into Harvard, you have to be in the top 10% of all Americans. Okay. Whites, if you want to get into Harvard, you only have to score in the top 80 percentile. Only the top 80 percentile. Hispanics only have to score in the top 60th percentile. Black Americans only have to score in the top 40th percentile to get into Harvard.
See, this is the soft bigotry of low expectations. We've talked about that. I'm not going to get into that right now.
Right. But that's what this is.
That is perhaps the most racist action you can take.
Yes.
Is expecting someone that is black
yes.
not to perform well, not on account of any other condition other than the fact of the color of their skin.
So put this on a bell-shaped curve with letter grades. Asians have to have an A to get into Harvard. Whites can get in with a B. Hispanic kids can get in with a D. And black kids can get an F and still get into Harvard.
Well, maybe that's the goal of diversity. We want to make sure that everyone has a seat at the table.
It's not just Harvard. We're doing this in medical schools, too. According to an article in cityjournal.org, a black person who scores into 50th percentile on the MCAT, which is the medical school entrance exam, has a 10 times greater chance of getting into medical school than an Asian person who scored in the 85th percentile. Again, someone who has a B is not going to get the spot for someone who has an F.
It's the same principle here, but see, this is all in the name of political correctness.
But is this equity? The left is, that's the term they're using, equity, that we're going to do this in the name of equity. But is that equitable? Is that fair?
Well, if we're talking about doctors, I want to know, are we getting the best doctors?
Great
Are we
point.
getting the most competent candidates
but see, the left
to be
now,
doctors?
The left now is actually performing a war on merit, what you're talking about. We want doctors who are the best. That idea, the left says, is racist.
It's racist, of course.
The left says that relying on merit is racist, but Asian families in general value merit more than other subcultures in America. Asian kids spend 13 hours a week on average on homework. White kids spend 5.5. Black kids, on average, spend less than that, about 2.5 hours in an entire week on homework. You're going to get out what you put in. Black kids, on average, put in about 4 times fewer hours doing homework than Asian kids do. So as a result, we punish those Asian kids for looking like other people with good grades and give bonuses to black kids for looking like kids with bad grades.
You sound really... I mean, I know you're not meaning it that way, but you're almost making it sound like that black kids, it's a choice for them. And I don't think so.
Not for the kids.
I think it's an environmental issue.
It is for the families. Asian families value that homework. They value merit. We're not doing that enough in enough black families in this country. And instead, we're giving incentives that hurt people who did put in the work.
Exactly. Especially those African Americans who put in the work. Now, folks question, well, are you one of those ones that were just let in?